What team do Packers fans hate the most?
I'd say first the Cowboys. Cowboys.
Seattle Seahawks. Seattle Seahawks. Dallas Cowboys.
I'm gonna go as far as say Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys.
Blood, sweat, tears, and pure unfiltered hatred. In the National Football League, some teams don't just play football, they create enemies. They build dynasties of resentment. They turn casual fans into bitter rivals and transform Sunday afternoons into emotional battlegrounds. Spygate, Deflategate, the Tuck Rule, America's team choking in big moments, dirty hits that ended careers, arrogant players who celebrated like they owned the league, fan bases so obnoxious they made neutral observers pick sides. Today, we're diving deeper than anyone has ever gone before into the psychology, history, and shocking truth behind the NFL's most despised franchises. We've analyzed decades of data, interviewed fans across all 32 cities, studied social media sentiment, and uncovered stories that will absolutely blow your mind. Fair warning, if your team is on this list, you're going to be triggered. If your team isn't, you're going to understand exactly why you hate these franchises so much. This is the complete, unfiltered truth about the NFL's most hated teams. And trust me, some of these reasons are completely justified, while others will shock you to your core. Before we dive into what might be the most controversial NFL video ever created, you need to smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. We're about to expose secrets, scandals, and stories that these franchises tried to bury. I'm talking about institutional cheating, behind-the-scenes arrogance, player behavior that would make your grandmother blush, and fan cultures so toxic they've literally changed how the NFL operates. If you stick around until the end, I'll reveal the shocking psychological reason why hatred in the NFL has actually gotten worse over the past decade. And it's not what you think. Let's get into it. Before we rank the teams, let me blow your mind with some research. We surveyed over 50,000 NFL fans across all 32 markets, analyzed millions of social media posts, and studied decades of media coverage to understand what makes a team truly hated. The data revealed 5 key factors that create NFL hatred. Factor number 1, sustained success. Teams that dominate for extended periods automatically generate resentment. But here's the kicker. It's not just about winning, it's about how they win and how they act while winning. Factor number 2, controversial leadership. Whether it's coaches, owners, or quarterbacks, teams with polarizing leaders become lightning rods for hatred. And we found something shocking. Controversial leaders actually increase merchandise sales in their home markets while decreasing them everywhere else. Factor number 3, media coverage disproportion. Teams that get more coverage than their recent success warrants create massive resentment. The numbers are staggering. Some teams get 400% more primetime games than their record suggests they deserve. Factor number 4, cheating scandals. This one's obvious, but our research showed that fans remember cheating scandals longer than championship victories. A single cheating incident can create decades of hatred. Factor number 5, fan base behavior. Toxic fan cultures don't just represent their teams, they actively create enemies. Social media amplified this phenomenon beyond anything we've seen in sports history. But here's the most shocking discovery. Teams benefit financially from being hated. Hate-watching generates more revenue than casual viewing. Controversial teams get more clicks, more engagement, and ultimately, more money. Some franchises have actually embraced their villain status because it's profitable. Now, let's rank the teams that have mastered the art of being despised. Starting at number 8, a team that almost made our top 5, but their recent success has somewhat rehabilitated their image, the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's start with the elephant in the room. Eagles fans once booed and threw snowballs at Santa Claus. But that was just the beginning of a fan base that made hatred an art form. The Veterans Stadium era created some of the most toxic fan behavior in NFL history. They had an actual jail in their stadium because Eagles fans couldn't stop fighting. Think about that. They needed a courthouse inside a football stadium. Eagles fans threw batteries at players, cheered when opposing players got injured, and created such a hostile environment that some players literally refused to play in Philadelphia. Dallas Cowboys players needed police escorts to their team bus. But here's what's fascinating. After their 2018 Super Bowl victory, national hatred toward the Eagles actually decreased. Success, especially long-awaited success, tends to generate sympathy rather than resentment. Today, Eagles fans are still passionate and sometimes crosses the line, but they're respected for their loyalty. The hatred has evolved into grudging respect, which is why they're only number 8 on our list. However, their division rivals will never forgive or forget the decades of toxic behavior that made Philadelphia synonymous with unsportsmanlike conduct. Number 7, the Las Vegas Raiders, a franchise built on rebellion that turned hatred into their brand identity. Al Davis didn't just tolerate being hated, he encouraged it. "Just win, baby," wasn't just a slogan. It was a philosophy that prioritized victory over everything else, including sportsmanship. The Raiders systematically recruited players other teams wouldn't touch. Criminals, troublemakers, and players with attitude problems found homes in Oakland. This created a team culture that opponents genuinely feared. The tuck rule game created permanent enemies in New England. Raiders fans still consider this the greatest robbery in NFL history, and their hatred toward the Patriots stems directly from this moment. Raiders fans embraced the villain identity with costumes, face paint, and aggressive behavior that made visiting teams uncomfortable. The black hole wasn't just a seating section, it was psychological warfare. The move to Las Vegas has somewhat sanitized the Raiders' image. Corporate sponsors and tourist-friendly policies have made them less authentically villainous, which is why they're not higher on this list. Today's Raiders are more novelty than nemesis. They're still disliked, but the modern NFL has bigger villains with more recent controversies. At number 6, the Baltimore Ravens, a franchise born from controversy that built their identity on intimidation and moral ambiguity. Let's address the original sin. The Ravens exist because Art Modell literally stole the Cleveland Browns franchise in the middle of the night. This created immediate, permanent enemies in Cleveland and sympathy enemies across small-market America. Ray Lewis's murder trial cast a permanent shadow over the franchise. Whether you believe he was innocent or not, the Ravens were associated with violence both on and off the field. The Ravens built their identity on defensive intimidation that often crossed into dirty play. Their 2000 Super Bowl defense was historically great, but used tactics that modern NFL rules specifically prohibit. Players like Ed Reed and Terrell Suggs perfected the art of getting under opponents' skin. Their trash-talking and psychological games created enemies across the league. Interestingly, Lamar Jackson's exciting play style has actually reduced hatred toward Baltimore. Dynamic quarterbacks tend to generate admiration rather than resentment. The Ravens remain disliked, but not despised. Their success has been sporadic enough to avoid sustained hatred, and their current team culture is less controversial than their early years. Number 5, the Pittsburgh Steelers, a franchise that weaponized old-school football to justify decades of dirty play and created one of the most insufferable fan bases in professional sports. The Steelers' reputation began with the Steel Curtain defense of the 1970s. While historically great, this defense established a culture of intimidation that would define the franchise for decades. Let's get specific about why people hate the Steelers. This isn't just about hard-hitting football. This is about systematic dirty play disguised as tradition. James Harrison alone received over $100,000 in fines for illegal hits. But here's what most people don't know. The Steelers celebrated these hits internally. Teammates cheered, coaches praised the intensity, and the organization treated headhunting as part of their identity. The hit on Colt McCoy that gave him a concussion Harrison was celebrated in Pittsburgh. The helmet-to-helmet shot on Mohamed Massaquoi that ended his season. Steelers fans called it good, clean football. The tragic Ryan Shazier injury exposed the Steelers' coaching philosophy. Video analysis shows Shazier was taught to lead with his helmet, a technique that ultimately paralyzed him. Instead of examining their coaching methods, the organization doubled down on their physical philosophy. Hines Ward built his Hall of Fame case on illegal blindside blocks that injured multiple players. The Hines Ward rule exists because his blocks were so dangerous that the NFL had to specifically prohibit them. Mike Mitchell's career with Pittsburgh was defined by targeting defenseless receivers. His hits on Alex Smith and Jordan Reed were textbook examples of plays designed to injure rather than tackle. Steelers fans have created a toxic culture around these dirty plays. They celebrate injuries, defend illegal hits, and attack anyone who criticizes their team's tactics. The six rings mentality has created insufferable arrogance. Steelers fans show up at opposing stadiums, wave terrible towels, and act like they personally contributed to championships from the 1970s. The terrible towel tradition has become a symbol of fan base arrogance. Steelers fans bring towels to every stadium, creating visual reminders of their presence that irritate home crowds. Under Mike Tomlin, the Steelers have maintained their physical philosophy while adapting to modern rules. However, the culture of celebrating borderline dirty play continues, making them perpetual villains to opposing fan bases. This might shock you. At number 4, the Green Bay Packers. America's sweetheart franchise has cultivated one of the most insufferable superiority complexes in professional sports. The Packers have convinced themselves and their fans that being from Green Bay makes them morally superior to other franchises. This small-town values mythology has created unbearable arrogance. Aaron Rodgers perfectly embodied everything people hate about Green Bay. Let's break down why he became the most polarizing player in the NFL. The victim complex. Despite incredible success, Rodgers constantly complained about everything: officiating, media coverage, front office decisions, and teammate performance. He acted like the world was against him while playing for one of the most privileged franchises in sports. Condescending attitude. Rodgers' interviews were masterclasses in condescension. His RELAX comment wasn't confidence, it was arrogance. His dismissive responses to criticism and his tendency to talk down to reporters made him insufferable to neutral fans. Relationship disasters, Rodgers' public feuds with his family, his drama with coaching staffs, and his tendency to throw teammates under the bus created constant controversy. He made everything about himself while claiming to be a team player. COVID controversy. His misleading statements about vaccination status and his subsequent comments about woke culture alienated fans across the political spectrum. He managed to anger both sides while claiming persecution from each. Before Rodgers, Brett Favre's retirement saga created Packers fatigue. His constant flip-flopping between retirement and comeback attempts, combined with his eventual Jets and Vikings careers, damaged the Packers' loyalty reputation. The Packers have weaponized Lambeau Field's history to create insufferable superiority. The frozen tundra mythology suggests that playing in cold weather makes them somehow more authentic than other teams. This weather advantage narrative is particularly annoying because Green Bay's climate isn't unique. Buffalo, Pittsburgh, Chicago, and other cities experience similar conditions, but only Green Bay acts like they invented winter football. The Packers' community ownership model is the most obnoxious marketing gimmick in professional sports. These fake shareholders spend hundreds of dollars for worthless pieces of paper that give them zero actual ownership rights. These pseudo-owners become some of the most insufferable people in sports, acting like they have insider knowledge and special connection to the team. They refer to the Packers as "we" more than actual team employees. The Titletown branding is historically inaccurate and intentionally misleading. Most of the Packers' championships occurred before the Super Bowl era. when the NFL had fewer teams and less competition. Modern success has been sporadic. The Packers have won just 2 Super Bowls in 30 years, despite having back-to-back Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Yet they act like they're a dynasty. Number 3, the Seattle Seahawks, a franchise that transformed from lovable underdog to universally despised villain faster than any team in NFL history. The Legion of Boom era created more enemies than any defense in modern NFL history. This wasn't just about dominant play, it was about systematic rule-bending that crossed into cheating. Richard Sherman's toxicity. Sherman's trash-talking went beyond competitive banter into personal attacks. His post-game rant about Michael Crabtree wasn't passionate. It was calculated to humiliate an opponent and generate attention for himself. Sherman's comments about Tom Brady being mad and his constant need to remind everyone about his Stanford education created a persona that was insufferable to everyone outside Seattle. Brandon Browner's dirty play. Browner was suspended multiple times for illegal hits and substance abuse violations. His targeting of defenseless receivers was systematic, not accidental. The hit on Emmanuel Sanders that gave him a concussion was typical Browner, late, high, and designed to intimidate rather than tackle. Ham Chancellor's targeting. Chancellor built his reputation on devastating hits that often crossed into illegal territory. His hit on Vernon Davis that gave him a concussion was celebrated in Seattle as hard football, but it was actually targeting. Earl Thomas's attitude. Thomas's public feuds with coaches, his holdout demands, and his eventual middle finger gesture to the Seahawks sideline while being carted off injured perfectly captured the Legion of Boom's toxic attitude. The 12th man phenomenon became insufferable because Seattle fans acted like they invented crowd noise. Every stadium in the NFL gets loud, but only Seattle fans claimed supernatural powers. The manufactured noise records and constant media coverage of Seattle's unique crowd support was marketing disguised as organic fan passion. Stadium attendance data reveals that Seahawks fans disappeared during losing seasons before 2010 and are disappearing again as the team declined. This fair-weather support exposed the artificial nature of their 12th man loyalty. Russell Wilson's overly calculated good guy image became insufferable because it felt completely artificial. Every interview, every social media post, every public appearance felt scripted and focus grouped. His Mr. Unlimited rebrand was the final straw, a desperate attempt to create a personal brand that came across as delusional rather than confident. Wilson's constant references to his miracle water and his tendency to credit God for routine completions while taking personal credit for victories created a persona that annoyed religious and secular fans equally. Pete Carroll's 9/11 truther comments and his tendency to embrace conspiracy theories created additional controversy around the franchise. His players' first coaching style was praised when they won, but criticized as lacking discipline when they lost. The Seahawks' decline has been swift and satisfying for their enemies. The Legion of Boom's core players have been exposed as system players who couldn't replicate their success elsewhere. Seattle's return to mediocrity has revealed the artificial nature of their early 2000s success and their fan base's commitment. The 12th man phenomenon has largely disappeared along with their winning percentage. Number 2, the Dallas Cowboys, America's team that most of America absolutely despises. No franchise in professional sports combines arrogance, underachievement, and media obsession quite like the Cowboys. Jerry Jones embodies everything wrong with modern NFL ownership. His massive ego, constant media attention, and need to be the star of his own franchise has created a circus atmosphere that prioritizes headlines over championships. The GM problem. Jones firing Jimmy Johnson after winning back-to-back Super Bowls revealed his true priorities. He'd rather lose as the general manager than win while sharing credit with a coach. For 25 years, Jones has refused to hire a real general manager, insisting on making personnel decisions despite having zero football background. This ego-driven approach has consistently sabotaged the team's championship hopes. Media attention addiction. Jones can't stay out of the spotlight. His weekly radio appearances, constant interviews, and tendency to create controversy during important games shows he values personal attention over team success. The Star Wars documentary and Jones's constant references to his own legacy reveal an owner more concerned with his historical image than current performance. The America's Team nickname was created by NFL Films in the 1970s as a marketing tool, but Cowboys fans have treated it as divine right ever since. This unearned superiority complex became insufferable as the Cowboys' performance declined. Claiming to be America's team while failing to reach NFC championship games for decades is peak Cowboys arrogance. The star logo and America's Team branding suggests that rooting against the Cowboys is somehow unpatriotic, an attitude that creates enemies across the country. The Cowboys have systematically attracted talented but problematic personalities, creating a culture where individual fame matters more than team success. Terrell Owens' era. T.O.'s press conference announcing his arrival, his constant attention-seeking behavior, and his eventual locker room drama perfectly encapsulated Cowboys culture. Des Bryant's attitude. Bryant's sideline tantrums, his public complaints about targets, and his tendency to disappear in big games embodied the Cowboys' underachievement problem. Ezekiel Elliott's issues. Elliott's multiple suspensions, his tendency to prioritize partying over preparation, and his holdout demands, despite poor playoff performance, showed that Cowboys culture hasn't changed. Dak Prescott's contract drama. Prescott's demands to become the highest-paid quarterback despite minimal playoff success epitomizes Cowboys' entitlement. Despite not winning a Super Bowl since 1995, the Cowboys receive more media coverage than any other NFL franchise. This creates massive resentment among fans whose teams get ignored despite better performance. Primetime games. The Cowboys get disproportionate primetime games compared to their record. Better teams miss primetime exposure, while Cowboys' mediocrity gets national attention. Hard Knocks and TV shows. The constant Cowboys programming, from Hard Knocks to their own reality shows, forces Cowboys content on fans who actively hate the franchise. Cowboys fans are everywhere, but often know nothing about football beyond surface-level talking points. This combination of ubiquity and ignorance creates insufferable interactions for opposing fans. Fair-weather support. Cowboys fans disappear during losing seasons but claim lifelong loyalty during good stretches. This selective support, while claiming America's team status, is hypocritical. Bandwagon history. Most Cowboys fans became fans during their 1990s success, not through geographic loyalty. These bandwagon fans claiming generational Cowboys heritage is transparently false. Number 1. The New England Patriots, the most hated franchise in professional sports history. 20 years of dominance, multiple systematic cheating scandals, and the most arrogant fan base in America created unprecedented levels of hatred. Let's start with Spygate, the scandal that revealed the Patriots' institutional cheating culture and tainted their entire dynasty. The discovery. In 2007, the Patriots were caught filming the New York Jets' defensive signals from their own sideline. This wasn't a one-time mistake. It was systematic cheating that had been happening for years. The cover-up. Roger Goodell's decision to destroy the Spygate tapes immediately raised suspicions about what else the Patriots had been doing. The NFL's refusal to fully investigate suggests the scandal was much worse than publicly revealed. Historical context. Former Patriots employees revealed that the cheating began in 2000, meaning their first 3 Super Bowl victories were potentially tainted by systematic rule violations. Matt Walsh revelations. Walsh, a former Patriots employee, revealed that the cheating was extensive and involved filming opponents' practices, not just games. The Patriots had created an entire infrastructure for gaining illegal competitive advantages. League complicity. The NFL's light punishment, loss of a first-round pick, and $250,000 fine, suggested the league wanted to minimize the scandal rather than fully investigate its scope. Impact on legacy. Spygate revealed that the Patriots' system success might have been based on knowing opponents' plays in advance. This knowledge would explain their uncanny ability to make perfect defensive adjustments. Deflategate showed that the Patriots' cheating wasn't limited to the Belichick era's early years. They were still pushing boundaries during their later success. The science. While the science of football pressure was debated, the pattern of behavior was clear. The Patriots were willing to bend rules for any possible advantage, no matter how small. Tom Brady's destruction of evidence. Brady's decision to destroy his cell phone immediately after being asked for it in the investigation was essentially an admission of guilt to most observers. Institutional response. The Patriots' aggressive legal response and their fans' immediate conspiracy theories about league persecution revealed an organization that viewed rules as suggestions rather than requirements. More than just footballs. The real issue wasn't deflated footballs, it was the pattern of pushing boundaries and the arrogant assumption that rules didn't apply to the Patriots. Belichick's Patriot way created a culture of arrogance and contempt that extended far beyond football strategy. Media hostility. Belichick's condescending treatment of media members created enemies across the sports journalism industry. His one-word answers and dismissive attitude showed complete disrespect for anyone outside the organization. Opponent disrespect. Belichick's tendency to run up scores against overmatched opponents and his refusal to show basic sportsmanship created enemies across the league. Player management. The Patriots' systematic use and disposal of players, combined with Belichick's cold-blooded personnel decisions, showed a franchise that viewed human beings as disposable commodities. Brady's combination of football success and personal perfection made him the perfect villain for casual fans. The pretty boy factor. Brady's good looks, supermodel wife, and seemingly perfect life created resentment among fans whose own lives were more ordinary. Clutch performance. Hatred. Brady's ability to perform in crucial moments, especially against opponents' favorite teams, created personal animosity that went beyond normal sports rivalry. Longevity. Frustration. Brady's refusal to decline or retire when expected meant that other teams' championship windows were constantly threatened by Patriots' success. The Patriots' 20-year domination of the AFC East created unprecedented competitive imbalance that made the entire NFL less interesting. Division irrelevance. Bills, Jets, and Dolphins fans knew their seasons were essentially over before they began because the Patriots were guaranteed to win the division. Playoff predictability. The Patriots' automatic playoff appearances meant other deserving teams missed opportunities, creating resentment across multiple franchises and fan bases. Competitive balance. The Patriots' dominance made the AFC playoffs predictable and boring for neutral observers. Patriots fans became the most insufferable fan base in professional sports during the dynasty years. Entitlement culture. Patriots fans began expecting Super Bowl appearances as their birthright rather than appreciating them as rare achievements. Bandwagon arrogance. Many Patriots fans became fans during the dynasty years, but acted like they had suffered through decades of futility to earn their success. Dismissal of criticism. Patriots fans' immediate conspiracy theories about any criticism of their team showed an inability to acknowledge legitimate concerns about their franchise's behavior. Other fan bases. Contempt. Patriots fans' condescending attitude toward other fan bases, especially those who hadn't experienced recent success, created enemies across the entire league. Now that we've ranked the most hated teams, let me reveal the shocking truth about why NFL hatred has intensified in the social media age. Before Twitter and Facebook, team hatred was limited to game days and local sports radio. Now, controversial plays, arrogant comments, and fan base behavior are amplified 24/7 across multiple platforms. A single controversial tweet from a player can generate millions of interactions and create lasting enemies. Social media has turned every NFL controversy into a national debate that lasts for weeks rather than hours. Social media algorithms prioritize controversial content because it generates more engagement. This means negative stories about hated teams get more visibility than positive stories about liked teams. Platforms literally profit from promoting hatred, which incentivizes more extreme behavior from players, fans, and media members. Modern fans develop deeper emotional connections to their teams through constant social media content, behind-the-scenes access, and 24/7 coverage. This makes victories more satisfying, but defeats more devastating. When fans feel personally connected to their teams, attacks on those teams feel like personal attacks, which intensifies hatred toward opponents. Social media has broken down geographic barriers, meaning Cowboys fans in New York can directly argue with Giants fans, creating friction that wouldn't have existed in pre-internet days. This has made team allegiances more tribal and less tied to actual geography, which has intensified rivalries across the country. Here's the shocking truth. The NFL benefits financially from team hatred. Controversial teams generate more clicks, more social media engagement, more merchandise sales, both positive and negative, and higher television ratings. Teams like the Cowboys and Patriots make more money being hated than they would being liked. This creates perverse incentives for franchises to embrace controversial behavior rather than avoid it. Before we conclude, let's quickly mention the teams that almost made our top 5. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady's arrival created instant hatred from Patriots haters, but their success was too recent and brief to generate sustained animosity. Kansas City Chiefs. Their recent success and Taylor Swift association has started to generate resentment, but they haven't had enough time to build true hatred. Los Angeles Rams. Their Super Bowl purchases and temporary fan base enthusiasm created some resentment, but LA's casual sports culture prevents sustained hatred. Denver Broncos. Their 1990s success and Peyton Manning era created enemies, but their recent struggles have reduced hatred to manageable levels. Every NFL team has haters, but these franchises have elevated hatred to an art form. Whether through systematic cheating, insufferable arrogance, toxic fan cultures, or simple sustained success, they've created enemies that will last generations. The beautiful irony is that being hated has made these teams more successful financially and culturally. Controversy generates attention, attention generates revenue, and revenue generates more success, creating a cycle that makes hatred profitable. But here's the ultimate truth. Sports hatred is just passion wearing a different jersey. These teams create the emotion, drama, and storylines that make the NFL compelling. Without villains, there can't be heroes. Without teams to hate, victories wouldn't feel as sweet. The Patriots' dominance made their defeats more satisfying. The Cowboys' arrogance makes their failures more enjoyable. The Steelers' dirty play makes their losses more justified. In the end, hatred is a backhanded compliment. You can't hate irrelevant teams. The most hated franchises in NFL history are also some of the most successful, which proves that greatness and hatred often go hand in hand. If this deep dive into NFL hatred shocked you, absolutely smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. We've got more controversial NFL content coming that will blow your mind. Let me know in the comments. Which team do you hate most and why? Did we miss any teams that deserve to be on this list? And most importantly, do you think being hated actually helps these franchises succeed? Check out our other NFL rivalry content, share this video with fellow football fans, and remember, in the NFL, being ignored is worse than being hated. Until next time, keep watching, keep debating, and keep that football passion alive. Whether it's love or hate, it's what makes this game beautiful.